With the weather changing and the temperature, well, feeling just right, it is time to drop the top. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, even though my head may get a little burnt this week, we're going to enjoy the 2016 Mustang GT Convertible. We drove the Mustang about a year ago. Now, that was a coupe model and it came in canary yellow. Now, unfortunately, we had snowy conditions back then, but that vehicle still did quite well. Now, the big difference here, obviously the rag top gives a little bit different kind of persona. Otherwise, the exterior, standard operating procedure. Now, let's look at the exterior. What we like, again, the nice wide track. When you look at a sport model like this, really want to look for a lot of wow factor. And that's what you see here. A little bit of curve, but pretty much a lot of cutting edge, knifing-like design, really sweeping down the vehicle. And really, when you get here, this is where you're going to start to see the flare coming down the vehicle. Some nice ridge lines, and really down low, snug in the ground. And I like the fact that we have that lower fascia. Now, the fascia here adorned in black, that's going to match the various accents right down to the mirror, the vents on the hood, and that rear spoiler. Looking at the four corners on this rear-wheel drive vehicle, what you're going to find is 19-inch wheels wrapped in a 255/40 Pirelli P0 tire. Now, if you want to, you can upgrade to a 20-inch, or they have a higher rated 19-inch, which is going to be more of a 275. Now, what's great is it's going to deliver a lot of grip, give you that kind of performance look, of course. And again, I'm always a big fan of that darkened rim like you see here. One last thing to note about that accent I mentioned earlier, really the striping down here, nice and dark at the front, fades down, gives you the impression of speed. When you look at the overall aggression on this vehicle, the profile is going to deliver one aspect, the front going to deliver that grille warfare. And this is really where people are going to get up out of the way, really looking at this lower fascia. Now, one thing to note about this, again, it's adorned in black to kind of match all the accents all around. And when you look at the ground clearance, easily under 5 inches. And what this is going to be is a nose bleeder when it comes to curbs. You creep up into a parking space, you definitely want to stop short because this is going to take most of the impact. Now, when you look around the rest, a lot of chiseling, a lot of sculpting, and that's great when you want to have that aggressive look. Now, if you look at the grille, really allowing a lot of airflow through here. The side niches really focusing on the headlight assemblies and the lower fog lights. Looking a little bit closer at the hood, you're going to find some vents that are going to be operational, not just pretty. Now, it's going to let the heat out of the engine, and typical for a performance vehicle. Now, one thing they brought back, a little throwback Thursday, that is the blinkers on the hood. Now, that's going to be era back from the 60s, and really a lot of people called for it, so they put it on the 2016. Now, one thing to note, on the driver's side, you definitely can see that blinker. As for the other side, can't see it because of the scoop down the middle, but it's definitely going to be a nice nostalgic feature. This vehicle is all about the accents, and no, I'm not referring to the British one, more or less the decaling. Now, what you're going to find is, again, on the hood, similar to the sides, dark sweeping line. Really, as it goes back, it's going to fade out. Again, the impression of speed. This vehicle has a lot of muscle, but it also has a little bit of a brain. What I'm referring to is the good old smart key system. Now, what's great about that is you leave it in your pocket, no fiddling around when you get inside. That also starts right here at the door. And the way it works is there's no button really to press. Instead, just take your hand, slide it in. The vehicle knows you're there. It's going to unlock with ease. Now, when you're leaving the vehicle, you have two options. Simply press right here. It's going to lock it right up. Or you can use the key fob. That's going to give you more of an indicator with the car honking. Now, when you slip around to the Phillip Area, this is one area I like that has security, but not here on the Mustang. It's just the good old pop open system. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's just nothing here to secure the Phillip Area. Now, once it's open, you are going to see some innovation here. No cap system, but instead capless. Now, as for the fill up, you're looking at about 16 gallons. Now, it's going to give you around about 250 miles of range. That is, of course, if you're barely tapping the gas. As for me, when I stomped it, that really decreases your overall range and really hurts your fuel efficiency. Looking at the overall numbers, the Mustang is definitely not going to be a small contender when it comes to the coupe market. By the numbers, 188 inches overall, wheelbase around about 107. Now, those numbers actually creep more into the mid-size sedan market, really rivaling size on the inside, of course, specifically in the front. Now, when you look at the rear track, what you're going to notice is about 2.5 inches wider back here. Now, as for their overall width, over 6 feet wide and just about 4.5 feet tall. So obviously we have some great numbers when it comes to length and typical when it comes to height. Now, I'm not a true gearhead, so really looking under the hood makes me feel out of place, but let's pop the hood and see what we got. One thing to note, very little room here to squeeze your hand in. Instead of filling up for the release, you want to fill down right here in the middle. Now, once you do that, you're going to lift this into place, and instead of being a hydraulic lift, well, we're going to go old school here, a little bit nostalgia if you need it. Now, when you look at this engine, this is a dream for anyone that knows what they're looking at. What you're going to see here is a 5.0 liter V8 engine. Now, that's going to deliver 435 horses and 400 foot-pounds of torque, obviously delivering that scoot booting off the line. Now, as for transmission, you can go with the standard 6-speed manual, or as we tested, the 6-speed automatic with the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Swing around to the cargo end of this vehicle really seems pointless, but let's talk about it. Now, on a convertible, going to lose a little bit back here. On the standard coupe, around about 13 cubic feet, about 2 less on this vehicle. Now, one thing to talk about also is, well, safety. Now, there is no backup sensors because, well, that would look gaudy on this vehicle, but we do have a backup camera, really keeping this vehicle and the rims away from the curb. Now, again, when you look at the black accents, really right here down low, and this nice spoiler really brings the design all the way around. Now, to get inside the trunk, of course, you can use the key fob, or you can simply come up here and look for the button. Now, the last time I drove this vehicle, I couldn't find it. Thankfully, someone told me where it was. Right above the license plate, press and hold, it's going to open right up. Now, as you can tell, we got a lot of gear in here, and what's great about a convertible on this one is when you drop the top, you don't really have to move anything around. They've already provided enough space for the top and the gear in here, so pretty much throw it in. There's going to be no crushing when the top comes down. For any vehicle like this, you really want to stomp the gas, but with a convertible added to it, you really want to drop the top. Now, once the top's down, this is where you're going to feel the muscle and the air all in one, really blowing across your hair or, well, scalp. Now, one thing to note, to operate the top, you'll see a handle here, one twist, then there's a button that's going to simply take it down. Now, there is no audible noise when it's fully complete. You'll just be able to tell. Now, there are some kind of tonneau covers you can get out of the trunk, make it look a little bit prettier. I really didn't waste my time. Now, looking inside, this is really a 2+2 design. Really 2 good people up here and, well, half a person back there. By the legroom numbers, around about 45 inches up here, plenty of room for anybody to really stretch out. In the back, kind of knee scraping at around about 30 inches. Now, you can creep forward just a little bit in those knees to carry some extra people, but really, this is for 2 people and stomp the gas. If you're looking for nostalgia on the inside, well, don't look on the dash because this is an old school cassette player, but instead a nice big touchscreen system. Now, the mode selection is down below. No true home screen here. Now, we have it Bluetooth right now with my phone, but you can go to various sources and pick it with ease. Now, for the various mode, I like the climate control. Real user friendly right here on the screen versus the controls down below. Real easy to access. Now, there are various apps, navigation, and obviously using your phone. Now, when you scroll down, you'll get to the climate control, and what you'll notice is dual zones. Now, there is no real knobs here on this programming, but instead toggle switching. Now, it takes a little bit of getting used to if you're used to the knobs, especially when it comes to fan speed. This kind of hard to find when you're going down the road. So what I like to use is the touchscreen system, so much more intuitive. Now, down below is going to be some old school throwback toggle switches, really for newer innovations, specifically the mode select. Now, it's going to give you more sport mode and racetrack mode, and I'll get into that in just a second, and other features to the left. The hazard button right here, not anywhere else. If you're looking for connectivity, where you're going to find it is low here on the dash, USB connection and a power supply, and a little bit of a shelf to store the item. With the automatic transmission, really comes down to the various drive dynamics to make this vehicle feel a little bit more muscular, because you're not really shifting gears, but you can spend more of your time finding your best features when it comes to this button right here. That's going to be your mode select. Now, I pretty much kept it in normal mode all the time, but you can go to Sport Plus and the track mode. Now, the track mode makes this vehicle a little bit more jumpy. What it's trying to do is really get up and go like a horse kind of getting out of the stables. Now, the last one is a kind of a snow mode. That's going to make it a little bit more traction-y when it comes to slippery situations. Now that does it for this Racing Edition Road Warrior and our test drive behind the wheel of the 2016 Ford Mustang GT Convertible. Now what do we like about it? Well, is the ability to drop the top, the horsepower of the hood, and all the special accents that make this vehicle look so much more muscular. Now if you want to feel a little bit nostalgia, you're going to see that on the hood with those nice blinkers, kind of a flashback from the good old days. Now as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.